Hello, my presentation will be about detection of artifacts in converted 3D video. 1 year ago, at the same conference here, but in another city, I show a system for detection of artifacts in captured video. And there was a lot of questions about converted videos because they are also painful and generally headache after 3D, and a problem that people mean that 3D is headache included. It's a really big problem for success of 3D, and it's a really good idea to understand what's wrong with converted video. Okay, so will be introduction, metrics, and our project overview and applications. Here is some. Oops. Here is sample of converted movie, and this is movie for children, and I'm extremely recommend to keep children as far as possible from such kind of conversion. You see it's clearly visible that depth is pretty far from real life. And but anyway, conversion is a very wide practice, and at least for all popular movies, for hard to shoot scenes. And for example, Amazing Spider-Man, that was previous was released and was shooted, and a last one that will be released soon, currently converted. So so even Hollywood guys who have very high high requests for quality, they sometimes they select to convert to achieve high quality due to a lot of problems that was described 1 year ago. And what's the problem we have with depths and with converting? At first, inaccurate depths. For example, here we can see how inaccurate depths produce not so accurate boundaries. And another problem is when we have a very big difference in depth budget between foreground and background, you have clearly visible problems on the boundaries of the object, especially here. And with such problems, it's they obviously discomfort when you will see such things in cinema. And unfortunately, such situation is very often. Here is a sample from Avengers, and when we create such metric, we receive a lot of artifacts. And another problem is cardboard effect when fewer amount of rotoscoping is used, and objects that should be 3D looks really flat. Here is sample from Titanic 3D movie, and this shot you can see this boundary, and it have clearly visible difference in the sharpness. So even for high budget movies, when you spend they spend $100,000 per minute for converting, even in such such movies they have such artifacts. You see clearly visible difference between sharpness. And also in this movie, this person is obviously flat. We can subtract and can see that it's flat. And sometimes flat scenes appear. Sometimes it's creative choice, but sometimes it's a lack of time. Okay, metrics. Edge-Sharpness Mismatch. Generally, we can divide quality metric for synthesized 3D video for full reference and non-reference metrics. And by the way, at the end I will show you some samples of our research in full reference metrics for converted video. Also, for non-reference metric, we can talk about metrics with estimation transmission quality, metrics for estimation production quality. And then we can divide them into metrics required additional information, such as depth, and metric require only sources. And we currently we talk about such kind of metrics. And we talk with stereographers, and they told us a lot of crazy stories about process of converting when they have very strict time restriction, and for them it's really difficult to meet all time and quality requirements. But anyway, it's necessary to move forward. And what we propose currently 2 metrics, but we're currently working on a big amount of metrics. And of course, it's impossible to understand how painful will be artifacts that we found. So anyway, it's necessary review by human expert and to understand what will be what scenarios really require some additional work. So it's just an automation of such kind of review that allow us, for example, enough automatically review big amount of information. Currently, we make evaluation for 10 converted movies. Here is a sample from Alice in Wonderland. You see that it's clearly visible difference in edge sharpness, very clearly. And here is a sample from Avengers. You see that even when you evaluate full frame, difference in edge sharpness clearly visible. For untrained viewer cannot understand what's wrong in such kind of stereo. But after maybe, by our experience, after maybe half hour of training, even untrained viewer can predict, or maybe it's difference in sharpness somewhere here. So it's possible to understand this, and such artifacts again are really painful. It's clearly visible difference. Again, Avengers, you see here is clearly visible difference. And Clash of Titans contain maybe 100% of scenes from this movie contain such artifact. Okay. Okay, looks like sometimes we have problems. It's Harry Potter, and if you will, it looks like enough good stereo. It was also converted. But if you will shift left view to the right view, we will see that all background is obviously flat, and this is a situation when it's not so clearly visible, and all attention is to this guy. But this movie have several scenes where such situation become not so comfortable. And here is cardboard effect in Titanic. You see, and here is the same effect in Immortals. And here is visualization. Another shot, also of foreground object, and it's obviously flat. And again, so you, as usual, you see something that it's impossible in real life. And generally, when we see such movies, there are a lot of situations that are impossible in real life. But in this case, our binocular visual system really can't understand what it was. So this, in some cases, it causes fatigue at the end of movie. Another sample, Clash of Titans. Another sample. Another sample. another sample. Oh, we show a lot of such things. And generally, again, we organize a project with publication with enough deep analysis of such kind of artifacts for captured movies and artifacts for converted movies. And generally, we analyze 30 full-length movies. And currently, we publish 4 reports, but internally prepare 3 next reports. And with a lot of metrics. Here is a metrics that was presented 1 year ago for metrics with big parallax, with geometry mismatch like shift or rotation, with color mismatch, with sharpness mismatch. And here is some sample. You can see it's not painful. It's appeared just only for 1 frame, and object is blurred on foreground, but parallax is really very big. And it's also for very short frame, but it's pretty reasonable to fix such kind of color mismatch. And drive angry, you can see clearly visible sharpness mismatch. When you see such a movie, it's interesting that such kind of artifact will be painful for all the people. So all the people are more sensitive to such kind of artifacts than younger people. Drive angry, you can see a lot of artifacts in 1 frame. And for example, in 3D theater, yesterday there was from 42 movies that was presented, there maybe was 4 or 5 with artifacts like this. And it's interesting. Also, I told you that that it's interesting to evaluate metrics with a reference for 2D to 3D converting. And here is a sample of reference metric when that can be used for analysis of 2D to 3D. Here is a haircut for 3D. You see that hair obviously removed to simplify converting. And here is a sample how this guy was shifted. You see that in 2D version it's 2D, 3D, 2D, 3D, 2D, 3D. So to simplify converting for 3D versions, this guy was shifted, and generally we see not so bad picture for 3D. But maybe you will understand that on background this guy is something like this, so it's shifted, and something wrong with it. So when amount of such frame is bigger than some value, you will feel a discomfort. And here is numerical analysis of movies. It's a generally sharpness mismatch, or maybe it's more interesting to analyze this in comparison with film budget. Told that some movies like Drive Angry with bigger budget have several times worse parameters than, for example, Dolphin Tale with smaller budget. And some movies was enough accurate. For example, Three Musketeers. It's with several times smaller budget per minute. They have the same value of metric as the Pirates of the Caribbean. So very good work. And here is analysis, general analysis of depth budget for different movies. Here is old movies. Old IMAX releases that have very big parallax and very big depth budget. Here is Avatar, and you can see that most of movies that was captured or converted later have small amount of depth. And here is Titanic. and you can see that Titanic have the biggest parallax in comparison with all converted movies. All converted movies have such kind of sign. So it's really difficult to create big parallax when you make conversion. But they do this, and you see clearly visible difference. So with such chart, it's possible to predict how good will be this movie when you will see it on a small screen, for example. If you want to see a 3D movie on notebook or any other small screen, then due to screen size, movies like this one should be really flat. Sometimes you even cannot recognize 3D. So here it's possible to analyze how 3D, how big volume movie have. And another vertical disparity. Of course, for converted movies should be 0, but unfortunately in practice it's not a common rule, and they still have non-zero disparity. For example, you can see that Oliver Travel have really visible shift, and also we also can analyze different movies. It's interesting to compare here step up 3D and step up revolution. It's step up 3D, it's step up revolution. So step up revolution was shooted, as I remember, 2 years later, and they have very good progress in the quality of movie in comparison with previous release. And you can see here is a Drive Angry, and here is very Harold and Kumar. And we can see that with 2 times smaller budget, these guys produce higher accurately stereo. So again, it's really good practice. So it's possible to compare different practices, and it's possible to spread good practices, I hope. Color mismatch difference. Also, here is not 0. It's more difficult to measure, but anyway, even in Titanic, it is not Titanic, but even in Titanic we found, as I remember, 6 scenes with clearly visible difference in color. So it was obviously a mistake of converting, but anyway, it happens. And here's again comparison with a different budget, and you can see that still Step Up Revolution have better results than Step Up 3D, but difference become smaller. And again, here is Drive Angry, here is very Harold Kumar. So we can compare how even less budget movies have better characteristics. And again, currently we make full analysis of 30 full-length movie for report published, approximately 1,000, close to 2,000 pages in reports. And we report a lot of real problems. And we have very strong feedback from professionals from the industry. And 20 stereographers directly contribute to our report, and you can see comments. And application, of course, with such kind of metrics, it's possible to find low quality scenes for correction, to make a quality assessment, to increase speed of quality assessment, and so on. And here is some samples. It's a real frame from Resident Evil. It's a very short scene, but this scene obviously will be painful. And here is a sample how it should be corrected. And it's really not so big problem to correct it. And more difficult sample, Resident Evil again. And you can see clearly visible difference in sharpness. And here is a sample how it's converted, corrected, and it becomes sharper. It's difficult, but it's possible. And left view also can be corrected to blur area. And here is sample where both views become blurred. And again, it's fully automatic correction. And such things is really possible. So it's pretty reasonable to fix all such things in real movies. And we really glad to invite everybody into this project. We invite stereographers, we invite researchers. If you have new metrics, if you can provide, have experience in subjective tests, we will be glad to provide our database of real movies artifacts for deeper analysis and for automation of analysis and fixing with as automatic as possible fixing of such kind of artifacts. Okay.